Hello
Good
there.
afternoon, Dr. Krish.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good to hear.
Just wait for our participant. Just
Of course.
okay.
And I will then share my video,
Yeah.
my presentation.
Just a minute.
Okay, no problem. Hello, BRC.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, we will start exactly after 3:10. Okay.
Okay. Hi, BRC. Will you be introducing me, or
Yeah.
will I just start myself?
Yeah, it was going. I'm just coming.
Sorry, will you be introducing me, or do I start? Hi, BRC. Will you be introducing me, or should I start myself?
One second. Hello.
Yes, hello, BRC.
Yes, actually it's echoing. Anyway.
Sorry, should I start?
Yeah, we'll start just after 3.
Will you introduce me?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
I'm on mute, but we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to all of you, all of our participants, for joining with us in our today's 5 days faculty development program. Today is the third day, and on behalf of SciAD, a big thanks to all of you for joining with us for hearing the valuable lectures of our honorable resource persons. Today, we got the opportunity to hear from one of our another resource person, Dr. Dr. Chris Sotiropoulos. He is the CEO and founder of Global Opportunities Commercialization in Australia, and a very good researcher as well as academician administrator too. So today he will deliver his lecture on the topic green marketing and the green business, an approach to protect environment. So as you know that during this lockdown time, we are all focusing on our environment, economic related issues. So in that case, the green marketing right now has become very important topic for all of us. And I hope you all agree with us that how this green marketing situation can be a part of entrepreneurship also. So today, our resource person, honorable resource person, Dr. Krish will focus on that point. So right now, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Dr. Chris. Thank you, sir, for joining with us, for getting associated with us and accepting our invitation in that particular faculty development program. Thank you. So over to you, sir, please.
Thank you. I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Okay, so I presume everyone can see my screen. And everyone can hear me well, so we will commence. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be speaking to representatives from Kabul University and SciAD on a topic that is relevant to Afghanistan as well as to other parts of the world. So green marketing and green business, an approach to protect the environment. The first question we need to ask before we undertake this investigation is why. And anyone who's in the business of branding will always ask businesses, why are you doing what you are doing? And this topic has the same underlying question as well. Why are we seeking to protect the environment? The path we take will depend on what the answer to this question is. Are we seeking to protect the environment because we have been told to do so by international organizations, geopolitical forces, or as an opportunity to receive some money to be directed to infrastructure or other directives? Or are we doing it because we recognize that the environment is important for human civilization, for our children and grandchildren? I won't pass judgment on which of those it is, because both in the West and elsewhere, the motivation often is directed along either of those two lines. So green, green, green. Very fashionable, very important as well. Green marketing, we're told, is marketing products that are environmentally safe, but identifying components that are not and correcting and implementing them. Whereas green business are socially and environmentally responsible. I know for a fact that these issues are on the radar in Afghanistan. and there have been some publications in international peer journals discussing this particular topic. The structure that I will discuss this evening is in the context of nation capability building. And this is relevant to many countries, not just Afghanistan. Once you build up your capabilities to develop and protect the environment, then the task is not difficult at all. And also the task becomes sustainable. So what are the elements of this nation capability building program that are required? A mindset change. And this is equally applicable elsewhere in the world, where the mindset is, let's protect the environment. Let's make sure whatever we do, from how we conduct ourselves in the morning when we wake up, when we are traveling, when we are conducting teaching or business, to when we return at home with our family and share a meal and spend the evening together. One of the critical elements is education. We will talk a little bit more about that in the coming minutes. Environmental management, the understanding that managing the environment is critical moving forward. Now, we do it in different ways, and in some cases, we don't do it at all. Problem solving. When you create an environment of problem solving, that enables solutions to be devised for protecting the environment or growing ecotourism, which also has environmental protection aspects. And a lot of this lends itself to entrepreneurship. And of course, climate change is a significant problem facing this generation as well as future generations. And I'm confident that the human spirit will solve this problem. Not sure how, but it will. So what are the stakeholders involved here in this exercise? And in order for this exercise to be successful, it needs to be ruthlessly honest. The citizens, the nation as a whole, has particular values and a particular culture. Communities have particular culture and values. The values in the cities are different to the values in the suburbs, to the villages, to the tribal areas. That has to be factored in, honestly. There are niche cultures within cultural groups, within religious groups, within socioeconomic groups. There are institutional culture and values that institutions such as political institutions, government institutions, commercial institutions also have, and they're represented by citizens. So it's important to recognize that it's the citizenry here and their values that need to be captured. Now, corporations, they exist as well. They are fit into a number of categories. Many of them are profit driven and see the protection of the environment as an economic boom opportunity. Their DNA is not necessarily interested in protecting the environment for the environment, but for profit. And that is one of the failings of corporate structures, where in some parts of the world, it's all about the shareholder return. Now, I'm enheartened by the growth, exponential growth of social enterprises which have become the fashion in the West in the last half dozen years. Also, looking beyond merely the profit to looking at sustainable impact for whatever their target market is, whether it's poverty, whether it's children, whether it's the environment. And these are also stakeholders that we need to bring together in this nation building exercise, because there are a lot of organizations that will grow within Afghanistan, but also from outside that would dearly love to impact the environment within Afghanistan. There are other stakeholders, of course. Government, very, very important. They have policy directives, national interest directives, challenges with international relationships, funding that they provide or do not provide adequate funding for initiatives in this space. Educational institutions, because of the context of this forum, will spend a lot of time on this particular issue. But educational institutions is not just a university. It is the primary school. It is the secondary school. Let's not forget what we mentioned earlier. It is also the cultural values of the community, of the family. These all congeal to create the mindset of a child, of a growing adult. And these are important issues and touch points that need to be factored in when we're looking at nation building capabilities to protect the environment. Of course, there are what I've termed ex-tertiary institutions. They provide courses like tourism, or might provide other courses which directly impact on protecting the environment. Now, on the right side of this slide, we'll see some other characters that are critical, and we all know the reality that they play in Afghanistan. So international institutions such as bankers, they provide the money. Money has strings attached. Intergovernmental organizations such as the United Nations and World Health Organization, and equivalent for environmental concerns. And I have seen countries in their growth development phase, such as Vietnam, and other countries, where money has directly, or Cambodia rather, money has directly been linked to increasing health and occupational safety, increasing welfare, protecting the environment. So as some of these countries move into the international global community, they are forced to change their practices. So these are stakeholders which impact Afghanistan and will do so more and more. Then at last is the geopolitical forces. So we all know what that looks like. The superpowers, each having their impact on the country, and of course having their own national interests, and their interests in some of the superpowers are also to protect the environment. It might be counterbalanced with oil reserves, oil pipelines, exploitation of other mineral resources as well, but some of these forces also seek to attach protecting the environment as an important consideration. So now that we've talked about stakeholders, we want to talk about, okay, well, how does the forum, what's the relevance to green marketing and green business? What are the mechanisms that we need in order to create continuously innovations for the protection of the environment. Entrepreneurship is a great mechanism for this. Now, entrepreneurship, I've entitled as this is in this reality. It's a bold statement, but what it's saying is that if you get the pillars for entrepreneurship right, you will have numerous products and services for protection of the environment, not only in your country, but also internationally. However, what most people forget is that entrepreneurship does not start at a university level. It starts at primary school. And we've seen this with our programs at GOC, where when you speak to the young kids at primary school and secondary school, they come up with amazing opportunities for protecting the environment. So I have divided this slide into two main areas. What should we be teaching at a primary school level? Creativity, innovation, creative problem solving. And it doesn't really matter that it's not in an environmental context, but it may also be in an environmental context. Because when children are opened up to possibilities, their dreaming is without bounds and surprises us often. Teamwork. Now, why is teamwork important? We know about it from a traditional academic perspective and a commercial perspective, but in entrepreneurship, you are interacting with other parts of the supply chain with different skill sets. And the classic story I give was when I was in high school, in one of our camps, I think it was year 9, we were divided into groups of 5, and we were told one person's the head of the group, the other person's the cook, the other person's the navigator, and there were 2 other people carrying supplies. What happened there was that we were told, here's your map, here's the mountain, off you go, and we'll see you in 4 days. You figure out how you have to get to your various spots. You figure out where you're going to camp for the night and what time you're going to camp. You figure out cooking, and we'll see you in 4 days. And by the way, no mobile phone, no fast food. It's doing it tough. Now, where teamwork came into it is that because we were given specific levels of expertise per person, we had to interact, but rely also on the depth of knowledge of the relevant person. So teamwork is really important. Now, empowerment is equally, if not more important, because when you give people the opportunity to flourish and you don't restrict it, you will notice that the quality of their output is significantly increased. And we know from our kids in primary school, our friends' children in primary school, that in primary school, often creativity, innovation, and empowerment is removed. The older they get, they lose it, and then they get into more traditional education set, which is not helpful in the context of what we're talking about, entrepreneurship. Now, at secondary school, what's the difference? Well, the kids are a bit maturer. They're listening to social media, they're listening to the news, they're listening to their friends. They're becoming aware of some issues in the world, the environment, politics, relationships. They're a bit confused about what's right and what's wrong, but they get a feel for these things. So that's the target also, that you need to focus on creativity. Introduce them to entrepreneurship. What does that mean? How You've got to look at unmet need. When somebody says, I have a great idea, you have to say to them, well, have you assessed the unmet need? Is there a need for it? Thinking big. That's something, again, which often students in secondary school are told, do not do that. Just focus on your activity, get your marks, and off you go. And they love success stories. They love seeing other young people achieve and do well. And they think, wow, I can do that as well. So these are very important considerations that need to be introduced, perhaps strengthened, but certainly introduced in primary and secondary. Okay, now we get to the post-secondary. So all of the tertiary and secondary activities need to be retained. Students need to understand the supply chain mentality. Well, what does that mean? Supply chain. I'd never heard of it when I was at university. Yet when I was undertaking entrepreneurship activities, I got it. It's a bit like a factory. There are various buckets, from the person who's invented the sausage recipe to the time that it's being consumed on someone's table, and might have to travel through several countries and be marketed differently, be priced differently, be packaged differently, and be prepared differently. So the idea that everything doesn't happen quickly and that there are many steps in the chain is something that we need to impress on students. Again, success stories, whatever success stories there are on people who have done well out of entrepreneurship, and yes, in the US there are a lot more than in other countries, but those need to be celebrated. And I'm sure in your country, Afghanistan, as well, there are many local stories of success. Assessment expertise. I'm not talking about the sort of assessment we're aware of. I'm talking about how you assess whether an opportunity has merit beyond the need. Will someone buy it when there are 5 other competing products? Will it sell in Qatar and South Africa, Australia, Switzerland, Myanmar, as well as China and the US? Commercialization expertise. What is commercialization? Many students maybe have heard it during their university course, but don't really understand the intricacies. Incubators, where you have either a collection of companies or student groups focusing on protecting one aspect or 2 aspects of the environment, whether it involves IT or engineering or social sciences or whatever, to have them close to each other so they can feed off each other's learnings in an Afghan way. This is one of the biggest take-home messages that I'd like to leave you with during today. This is all about the Afghan way. If somebody comes in from overseas and says to you, stand aside, I've got the toolkit, implement everything I say, that's all you got to do. It doesn't work. It's never worked anywhere in the world. Unless the local values and culture and way of business and life are factored in, you won't be able to protect the environment properly. And it's a bold statement, but I stand by it because I have seen it again and again where clients and governments come to us and say, well, we hired big name consulting firm. They cost us $2 million. They gave us hundreds of pages of reports. They gave us implementation plans, but it didn't work. We didn't know where to start. It didn't fit into our culture. The Afghan way, as is the case for the Australian way in Australia, the Indian way in India, is a key factor which everyone forgets. All right, the institutional role. So what must tertiary organizations as an institution, how should they adopt what we're talking about here? It needs to be pervasive. It needs to be across the university. It's not about one faculty, not about one school, not about one part of the course, year 3, if it's a 3-year program. And it needs to adapt, because entrepreneurship is an adaptive modality. Commercialization is an adaptive modality. The phones we have here are different to what we had 10 years ago, and are different to 10 years before that. And they will not be the same even in 5 years. Similarly, the challenges and the methodologies to protect the environment will change. Renewables energy is changing all the time. The efficiency of solar cells, the printing of solar cells now on equivalent to paper with the appropriate backing, although the efficiency is poor now, it will improve. Just as the education at the university level needs to improve. So what sort of things are we talking about here? Well, in arts and philosophy and social sciences, what's that got to do with protecting the environment? Well, the environment involves an interplay of the philosophical questions. Why are we doing it? What's the extent to which we need to do it? How will our society fragment or not, or evolve, or needs internal, external, out of country, that is, assistance? How does it impact the people, the social sciences? Will it have an impact on the way the arts are taught? Literature is created, poetry. Again, if the focus is protecting the environment, these mindsets need to seep into these programs. Engineering, okay, I get it. Nuts and bolts. We're building bridges. We're building solar holding facilities. We're building water catchments. We're remediating activities. I get it. That's a little bit more straightforward to people. What about sciences? Well, science is, again, not that hard. The invention factory, new inventions for a sway of applications, even in the IT area, even in the eco-tourism area, even in the eco-social enterprise tourism area, where, for example, people come to Afghanistan for tourism, and part of the tourism is they volunteer to assist in projects to protect the environment. Not unheard of elsewhere. And people love it because it gets them down and dirty with the ground and planting trees or whatever they're doing, and they feel really good about it. Business, commercialization, setting up companies, leadership, staff training, human resources, funding of it all. Yep, that's not that difficult. Politics, where are the next generation of political leaders going to come from? Maybe a little bit from here, maybe a little bit from outside. They need to understand that this is part of policy creation. This is part of being in the international community or in the regional community. You need to have these dogmas, if you will, embedded within the political mindset and process when you're discussing with other groups overseas. How does the political interplay operate there when you're part of international treaties? So there's an interconnectedness that requires a new platform. Not only are you adding units within each of these curricular changes, but you're also developing a mechanism whereby they are being connected together with like a piece of string. They're all connected together, they all speak together, and just as there are double degrees, science, law, science, engineering, environmental, etc., I foresee a new reality whereby students will say, I want to protect the environment. And you'll say, okay, are you the type that wants to build a bridge? Oh, no, I hate maths. Okay. Are you the type that likes looking at bacteria? Or are you the type that likes looking at how people interact in this conversation? Oh, yes, that sounds interesting. So they have an interplay across a couple of areas. Oh, and do you think you might have an interest in politics? Ooh, okay. So there's that element as well. So this is where the future of education is coming to. And as part of nation building in this space, it's essential. So we have institutional connectors. What does that mean? In commercialization, when you are producing products and services to protect the environment, for green business, green marketing, the ideal is to have a market pull. So a product is in dire need by the customer, the country, the region, the Department of Forestry, the Department of Renewable Energy, or to replace electricity which is up and down during certain times of the year. Better to have a market pull, better to have an international market pull. Whatever you do, always ask the question, is this also likely to be needed elsewhere? If the answer is yes, and I'm tipping that in most cases it will be yes, then the value of your product and service has just grown exponentially, maybe by even 2 logarithms. So what are the other connectors that you need here? Education, we've mentioned. Opportunity creation and development. Key persons. So let me just go back to opportunity creation and development. What do I mean by there? When somebody has an opportunity, which is different to an idea, what do they do with it? How do they then develop it? There's a discrete set of people that can help you do that. I want to start a business. I want to do something. I have a social enterprise. I need access to key people to help me. What does a board look like? What does a chief technical officer look like? As we go through this process, I'm not sure what the next step is. I need some mentors. Now, some of these people are going to be local and some are going to be international. They're around. We have to use them. Product development. Again, there are experts who know how to develop a product. They will also be smart enough to say, well, when I'm developing a phone, I want to make sure it's not too big, or it's not too fat, or it charges quickly, or it's not dangerous. Ooh. So they're the elements they come in. Funding. This is an area where everyone gets stuck. And I don't see a reason why they should, but that is the culture, unfortunately. People say to me, Chris, great idea, it'll help the environment, but no one wants to give me money for it. I can't find money. Can you help me? Then I sit on the other side of the table where people with money are saying, Chris, we've got all this money. COVID's stuffed us up a little bit. We are in negative interest land in parts of the world where it costs us to put money into a bank. We are not finding opportunities. Please help us find opportunities. Let's find something that can make a difference and can make us money. So there's plenty of money around. Commercial operations and sales. Okay, so we're about to start a business. How do we do it? There are different divisions of a business. I'm not sure how that works. Then you've got sales and marketing people. How does that all work? There are connectors out there that can do that. As I said, some are within country and some are without country. So like this arrow demonstrates, these are hurdles, but like all entrepreneurs, you're constantly looking up and with a positive mindset. All right, protecting the environment. Back to the why on slide 2. Are we talking about the environment to help the environment, or are we talking about the environment in order for a financial benefit or geopolitical benefit? They're two different directions. They require two different approaches. And I'm sort of banking on the one which says you actually want to save the environment. In order to do that, in addition to creating the nation building capability we talked about, you already have a lot of assets. You have local knowledge over many generations of what regions of your countryside are like, what requirements are also for energy within small towns, cities, capital city, Kabul. There is international expertise. There are a stack of people who provide solutions in different parts of the world. And that's what they do day in, day out. There are partners, local and international, with joint vision. Got to find them, but when you go down that route, they also look at you because they say, oh, hang on a second, you're well trained, you've got a mindset now, and you've got some political freedom to do something, and there's some money people who are supporting you. I'd love to partner with you in order to help with whatever your Protect the Environment initiative is. The important thing is, with joint vision, and remember what we said earlier, in an Afghan way, because that's the context, the key underlying context in any of this. Stakeholders and geopolitical agenda to add this as a national interest. I have found in many countries, oh yes, we love commercialization, we love the innovation, we love the environment. And you say, well, at Prime Minister level or cabinet level, you say, is it a national interest? Oh, no, we're sort of more concerned about mining and education, and yeah, but it's really important. Well, no, if it doesn't get on the national interest platform, it's not that important. So that's one of the things that politics needs to elevate. So, as I just said on the previous slide, who has the control to protect the environment? We need political permission. We need policy freedom to create the policies, whether it's adopting and modifying policies from overseas or creating bespoke policies for particular regions of the country. We need business freedom. We need initiatives which says to business, come in under our general policy above. We would love to have you, and we will encourage you to find solutions for the environment. Business needs that. Without that confidence, business doesn't come. People and entrepreneurship freedom. Similarly, government saying, yes, we're elevating this to a national interest. We want to protect the environment. We're providing freedom for policies, and we're allowing business to come in, and we have maybe some benefits. And therefore, underneath that, the people will come in. And with entrepreneurship freedom, they come up with the ideas, and they come up with the pathway to create products and services. So a nation capability program is needed. Well, thank you very much. That's all. Thank you for the privilege to be here, and look forward to working with Afghanistan in order to achieve the wonderful and critical objective of protecting the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Krish, for sharing a wonderful presentation with us. And right now, really, we have to think about our environmental policies and all that. You are absolutely right. So this right now the platform is for the audience. If any audience have any queries to Dr. Krish, they may ask directly by mentioning their name and designation. Please. Any participant, if you have any query, please may ask.
Of course, through BRC, Sayed, feel free to direct questions at another time, and I'll be pleased to
Yeah,
respond to
you
it.
or you may also share your queries in our YouTube link or in the chat box. I will forward to our resource person. He will definitely share your answer to you. So, Dr. Krish, I would like to know one thing from you, that you are based in Australia and you have worked throughout almost throughout the world. So, what are the changes you have faced right now in Australia regarding environment scenario, as well as on the basis of that environmental scenario due to this pandemic situation which we have found? What is your concept or what is your suggestion to think about the new generations, about the new entrepreneurship model utilizing the environmental resources?
We have seen a significant change in how the environment will be managed during and post-COVID. The young generation at university, at secondary school, out of university, are very interested in joining social enterprises. Now, these are companies, organizations which are specifically tasked with social activities, such as protecting the environment. And we didn't have this model before. And what has happened with COVID is that people have seen that there's fragility in how we live. Now, this is a health issue, but they see the same with the environment. And they were looking for a path. How do I use my resources or my passion for the environment? Now, what they found is that social enterprises, and through a volunteering relationship as well, initially, is the way to go. And funding organizations, international as well as local, have said, this model works for us as well, because we see the passion of the entrepreneur directed to the environment. There is a pathway for it. And the government in Australia does provide the policy freedom and opportunities for business and the people entrepreneurs. And because of that, there's a new category of entrepreneurship that's opening up for the environment, as well as investors who are specifically saying, we invest only in social enterprises that are tasked with protecting the environment.
Oh, that's nice. And suppose if any student wants to become an entrepreneur on respect of the environment resource-based activities, so how they should start? What is your suggestion as a CEO of a company or an institution? What is your suggestion? What should be your suggestion to them?
Okay, my suggestion is for them to find the passion of the area of interest. Are they interested in renewable energy? Are they interested in protecting a forest? Are they interested in correcting some area that has had damage due to mining or something of that nature? Once they define their passion, to do a little bit of work and find out, well, how big is this problem? Is it a big problem? Internet work, so we're not talking about anything beyond that. And then to come up with some ideas that they have and speak to others who are involved in protecting the same sorts of issues, whether it's forest or water management, or recycling, to develop a group with them and come up with some concepts, and then those concepts to speak to groups who provide funding in that environment. And sometimes you might have to go outside your country. So BRC, they should be speaking to people like you, for example, as well as GOC and others, and say, well, listen, this is my idea. I want to help one region of my country. Can you help and open doors? And we might be able to go back into that country and open some relationships directly for those young students or recent graduates to develop their opportunity further.
Okay, so it's very clear that university students have also an opportunity to work in this field. And the green marketing and the green technology, which you have told about, the green marketing particularly, and right now we can find that Amazon, Flipkart, these are all working through the green marketing. Do you really think that this is the actual utilization of green marketing concept or green technology concept, or rather than we can think differently after this situation? Because you know that COVID, you will also agree with me that after this COVID we face lots of problems, but as well as lots of advantages are there. So how the young entrepreneur can be more effective and can be more efficient by utilizing this situation?
The young entrepreneur should think of the global platform in whatever they do. And they should engage with organizations such as SAIARD, GOC, and maybe incubators that think global. Because when you think global, you bring in extra resources. Instead of bringing in $100,000, you might bring in $10 million, but do things faster. So the key is to think global and connect with people that can make change quick. So it's a very different mindset. So it's almost a speed mindset.
So hopefully we can change the policy also, because through this platform I would like to share to all the participants that very soon SIAD and GOC will collaborate with each other, and particularly for the students entrepreneurship development model, and for their business skill development training and all that different fields we will work. And I am thankful to Dr. Chris also for sharing his hands to us. Even in that, if it is possible, then we can also work not only in India basis, but also throughout the world for the global students, because it will create an opportunity to all the students to work in global arena, not only in their particular arena. So
absolutely. And I see this, BRC, your initiative is very honorable and very timely and very needy. It will re-energize millions of university students, as we have projects in Africa, projects in Asia. Yeah. You have many projects. I mean, it's a big market.
Yeah. Even I think this is the time, Chris, that students have to think differently, because nobody has born to only become teacher or engineer or doctor. There are lots of fields we can explore, and hopefully we can bring the opportunity to them to work in that different fields, because there are several students I saw there are several students have joined in this webinar, and mostly from our institutions and other institutions, even the faculties too. And what I'm feeling that right now the faculties have to change their mentalities also to deliver the students, that they have to think differently, because how to utilize the situation, how to utilize the this pandemic situation particularly into the entrepreneurship model. So thank you, and we will definitely work together, and also hopefully we can do something better for our society. So with this, thank you for coming, and thank you for joining with us and sharing your valuable lectures, which I will get back to you after this webinar for another discussion. And right now we are going to for our another speaker, Dr. Angelica M. Buraek, PhD Regional Education Program Supervisor from Philippines government. She will deliver a lecture on the topic. Ma'am, are you here?
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening. So how are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, thanks for joining with us, ma'am.
We have a
Yes.
lot of webinar.
Hello.
We are preparing for the coming school year, this coming August 24 for the opening of the classes.
Okay. Sorry, ma'am. I am just interrupt you because there is a question I have got from Guljavar. Sir, kindly speak your question directly to our honorable resource person, Dr. Chris, by giving your name and also full name and designation. You may directly ask, please. Guljavar, sir. May I audible? Guljavar, sir. Am I audible?
I think he has a point.
Okay. Or poor network connections, he will not be able to connect. So I am asking his question to you. He wants to know that if one wants to work as volunteer in the arena of greenery, how should they start? Especially in the third world countries, as I'm speaking from Afghanistan. Okay, so from Afghanistan, Guljavar wants to ask if anybody wants to join as a green volunteer. So how should they start? And because before that, I would like to say one thing, Guljavar sir. There is no world where is third world, second world, first world. There is one world where we are one human. Anyway, sir.
There's plenty of work available for volunteers throughout the world. I see opportunities all the time. I was speaking to someone from Sierra Leone yesterday. A week before that, Nigeria. Somalia 2 days ago, Australia as well, America. The key is to speak to the leaders of an organization and plead your case that you're looking for volunteer and your passion. That's what'll work. Now, if you are in a particular part of the world, if we have connections, we're happy to help you as well.
Yes, thank you. And also, I would like to add something that if you want to work in club for the green as a green volunteer, you may work in differently. You may start from your localities, and also when we have started by planting some trees, by protecting these trees also in our localities. And also one of my members are there in my we have developed a small club here, and we are protecting and develop the education of environmental education. And one of the vice president of this club is there, Dr. Shajul Ganguly is here. Thank you, sir, for joining with us. And not only that, we have taken lots of initiatives for the development of our society. So this is the situation. Even if you want to work in the bigger level, you can also create some group. You can also associate with the other groups, those who are working on the environmental related activities. So through this you may start, and after that you also think not only to protecting the environment, not only to just planting the trees, but also how to make them an future marketing prospect or entrepreneurship prospect, as that through this there are several persons are there who are associated with you can be benefited. So thank you, Guljavar sir, for joining with us, and Dr. Chris. So now we are going to for the another speaker, Angelica ma'am. Ma'am, over to you.
Yes.
Would you like to share your screen?
Okay.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Okay. Pleasant good evening to each and everyone. Thank you, sir, for the invitation once again. The title of my topic for this evening is about the rethinking education policy in the Philippines, a post-COVID approach. And this focuses the education policy and as well as the environment or the program related to the school environment. Now, it was lifted in the DepEd Order number 12, Series 2020, entitled Adoption of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan for school year 2020-2021 in the light of the COVID-19 public health emergency. This was the message of our Department of Education Secretary. She says that as Secretary of the Department of Education, I am proud to introduce our Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan in the time of COVID-19. This is the department's response to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 in the field of basic education. I have always maintained that education must continue, whatever the changes and even dangers we confront now and in the future. Our learning continuity plan is not the work of one person alone. It is truly an integrated output of the department. The Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan is the result of consultation with the partners and advisors, legislators, executive and directors, teachers, parents, learners, and general public. All these contributions were integrated and harmonized by the Executive Committee and Management Committee under her direction and drafted by Undersecretary and Chief of Staff. In particular, with the BLCP is the result of inputs from different units and field offices of the department. Advice from the Philippine Forum for Inclusive Quality Basic Education or EDU Forum, counsel from the chairperson of the House and Senate Committee on Basic Education, an online survey at more than 700,000 respondents, and a survey of teachers' readiness for a distance learning delivery or the BLCP covers the essential requirement of education in the time of COVID-19. And this was her message in the department order. Now, the main principles or the basic education learning continuity plan principle is number one is to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel, and prevent the further transmission of COVID-19. Two, ensure learning continuity through K-12 curriculum adjustment, alignment of learning materials, deployment of multiple learning delivery modalities, provision of corresponding training for teachers and school leaders, and proper orientation of parents or guardians of learners. Three, facilitate the safe return of teaching and non-teaching personnel and learners to workplaces and school, taking into consideration the scenarios projected by the Department of Health and the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases in the Philippines, complemented by other credible sources and balanced with DepEd's own risk assessment. Number four, be sensitive to equity, consideration, and concerns and endeavor to address them the best we can. And five, link and bridge the BLCP to DepEd's pivot to quality and into the future of education under the framework of edukalidad and future thinking education. Now, for the learning strategies and modalities for the section 5, I will be focusing on the strategies and modalities that we are going to use this coming opening of the classes. Major adjustments are being made at the central and field offices, led and enabled to deliver distance learning at a magnitude never done before. While the task is daunting, it is also compelled the department to implement innovation already being done by the department and by its education partner, just on a larger scale that we are not really starting from scratch. This section describes the key element of the learning strategies, learning delivery modalities, and that will operationalize. And some of these constitute parameters, while other are the option and resources that our field units from the region, division, and school can deploy taking into consideration the respective condition and realities on the ground. These are work in progress for refinement and fleshing out in run up to the normal opening and during the school year itself. Streamlining the K-12 curriculum into the most essential learning competencies. So we have streamlined the K-12 curriculum into the most essential learning competencies. The Department of Education Curriculum and Instruction Strand through the Bureau of Curriculum Development has identified within the full K-12 curriculum the most essential learning competencies. This has streamlined the total number of competencies in all learning areas from kindergarten to grade 12, excluding the technical vocational livelihood or the TVL specialization in senior high school, wherein the entrepreneurship were tackled to 5,689 from the original 14,171, or a reduction by 60%. So as you can see in the table, we have the subjects here. We have the kindergarten, mother tongue, araling panlipunan or the social studies, edukasyon sa pagpapakatao or the homeroom guidance, English, Filipino, mathematics, MAPE, science, EPP, and TLE, where the discussion about the environment were tackled under this subject, and of course under science also. Senior high school core, school applied, ABM, STEM, sports track, and arts and design. In the kindergarten, out of 241 current curriculum from the current number of learning competencies from the curriculum guide, it was reduced into 66 most essential learning competencies, wherein 73% of the learning competencies was removed, and the most essential learning competencies retained is only 27%. To sum it up, the total number of learning competencies from the different learning areas in the current curriculum guide were 14,171. But in the number of the most essential learning competencies, it was reduced to 5,689, or a total percent of 40%. So the percentage of the removed learning competencies to all the subject areas were 60%. The MELTs are defined as the competencies that a learner needs in order to continue to subsequent grades and ultimately to have a successful life. The characteristics of the MELTs are: A, it is aligned with the national standard or framework. For example, holistic Filipino learners with 21st century skills. B, they connect the content to higher concept across content areas. C, they are applicable to real life situation. How are you going to cope up with the real life situation like we are experiencing the pandemic at this moment? Then D, they are important for students to acquire even if a student drop out from school. E, they cannot be expected to be ordinarily learned by students if not taught in school. So we also focuses on the different learning delivery modalities. We have face-to-face, the blended learning, the on-air, the distance learning, and the homeschooling program. The face-to-face refers to a learning delivery modality where the students and teachers are both physically present in the classroom, and there are opportunities for active engagement, immediate feedback, and social-emotional development of learners. But we are not going to implement face-to-face this coming school year. And for number 2, for the distance learning, this refers to a learning delivery modality where learning takes place between the teacher and the learners who are geographically remote from each other during instruction. This modality has 3 types: the modular distance learning, the online distance learning, and the television radio-based instruction. Now, for the modular distance learning, involved individualized instruction that allows learners to use self-learning modules in print or digital format. Actually, in the development of our self-learning modules, we are we included all about the different scenarios in terms of environment, how to take care of our especially in the social study subjects. Okay, whichever is applicable in the context of the learner, and other learning resources like learners materials, textbook, activity sheet, study guides, and other study materials. Learners access electronic copies of learning materials on a personal computer, tablet PC, or smartphone. CDs, DVDs, USB storage, and computer-based application can all be used to deliver e-learning materials, including offline ebooks. The teachers take the responsibility of monitoring the progress of the learners. The learner may ask assistance from the teacher via email, telephone, text messages, instant messaging, etc. Where possible, the teacher shall do home visit to learner needing remediation or assistance. Any member of the family or other stakeholders in the community need to serve as a para teachers. Now, the online distance learning features the teachers as facilitators, engaging learning active participation through the use of various technology access through the internet while they are geographically remote from each other during instruction. So we are going to use the synchronous and the asynchronous. In the synchronous, we are going to use the different platform. We have the Google Meet, the Zoom, the MS Team. It depends upon the teacher. The internet is used to facilitate learner-teacher and peer-to-peer communication. Online learning allows live synchronous instruction. It requires participants to have a good and stable internet connection. It is more interactive than other types of distant learning, and the responses are in real time. The learners may download materials from the internet, complete and submit online, and attend webinars and virtual classes. We can also use the asynchronous instruction. We can give the link to our students to answer all the reflections, all the activities that the teachers may give to them. Now, this is practiced effectively by using a learning management system or related technologies. The DepEd Commons and DepEd Learning Resources, or the URL portal, fall in this category. TV radio-based instruction utilizes SLM converted to video lesson for television-based instruction, and SLMs converted to radio script for radio-based instruction. Actually, we are having our different webinar, and we are conducting radio-based instruction orientation to the different teachers in our different regions. The distance learning modality is most viable for independent learners and learners supported by periodic supervision of parents or guardian. The challenge will be in dealing with learners not capable of independent learning. This is the subject of further discussion within DepEd and with partners and parents. Number 3 is the blended learning. This refers to a learning delivery that combines face-to-face with any or a mix of online distance learning, modular distance learning, and TV radio-based instruction. But we are not going to use the face-to-face. We can also online modular distance learning or the TV radio-based instruction or the self-learning module. Blended learning will enable the schools to limit face-to-face learning, ensure a social distancing, and decrease the volume of people outside the home at any given time. Number 4 is the homeschooling. This is an alternative delivery mode that aims to provide learners with quality basic education that is facilitated by qualified parents, guardians, or tutors who have undergone relevant training in a home-based environment. It allows families to educate according to their personal faith, philosophy, and values, and to adjust learning schedules around family schedules and circumstances. Thus, this modality will be the subject of a later DepEd issuance before its expansion. For the learning resources, we have, in addition to the textbook distributed to the school, or the self-learning module shall be made available in print and digital format, PDF flat and interactive. For use this incoming school year, actually, we will be having our quality assurance of the different self-learning module that was developed in the different region. But for our region, we will be having our quality assurance for the self-learning module in the social studies and in the Madrasa education program. But the central office were distributing the different self-learning modules that was developed from the different regions in our country. Then they will be converted to inclusive interactive ebooks where videos, audios, and even sign languages interpretation can be embedded to respond to the needs of the children with disabilities. SLM in the PDF flat shall be uploaded to the Deaf and Learning Resource Portal, while the SLMs in digital interactive, inclusive ebooks and video lessons shall be uploaded to Deaf and Commons. SLMs will also be converted to videotape lesson and radio script for radio-based instruction. So we are not going to use SLM as in a module, but we can also use the SLMs through radio-based instruction and through the different format in the ebook self-learning resources. Now, based on the ongoing inventory by the Bureau of Learning Resources of print, digital, offline, and online materials and educational videos, DepEd presently has the following. We have the lesson materials for the kindergarten. We have the kindergarten to grade 3. We have the storybooks through competition writing, kindergarten activity sheet, ADMK learning kit. For the grade 1 to 3, we have the primer lessons for grade 1, storybooks through competition writing, grade 1 English activity sheets, learning materials, and teacher's guide. Now for the grades 4 to 6, we have the LMs and TGs for the grade 4, teacher's manual, TMs, and textbook for grades 5 and 6, and other self-learning modules that was being delivered to the different region in our country. Now for the grade 7 to 10, we had the textbook, teacher's manual, the teacher's guide, and learner's materials. For the grade 11 to 12, we have the textbooks and teacher's manual, learning materials, and teacher's guide, reader's manual, primers plus, self-learning modules for core subject. Now, for the strategies for the K to 3, we have the early grade learners are the most vulnerable to inaccessibility to education. They rely heavily on the guidance of adults as caregiver and as facilitators of learning. The delivery of instruction for them should be anchored on the principle of developmentally appropriate practices, age appropriate, individually appropriate, and culturally appropriate. Since early grades learners need adult guidance, a combination of face-to-face learning delivery with the teacher and modular learning at home may be employed. For modular learning at home, the guidance of trained para-teachers is required. They must be trained on the content and delivery of instruction before implementation to properly and appropriately deliver instruction. A facilitator's guide shall be made available to para-teachers. Now, for the adaptations for learners with disability, we have captioning, transcribing to Braille, sign language interpretation, or providing different format option shall also be considered for learners with disability. Materials for learners such as but not limited to self-learning modules and other print materials, TV clips, videos, and online materials can be designed to be accessible to learners with hearing, visual, and or any other impairment. For the assessment, we have the learning outcomes in the form of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values will be assessed. Learners shall prepare their portfolio, e-portfolio, to include written works and performance, whether hard copy, soft copy, or a combination of both. The portfolio, e-portfolio content will be assessed using rubrics that capture evidence of learning. The stimulus of parents and other adult communities, aside from teachers, may also be considered in the assessment for the authentication of the portfolio of the student. When face-to-face learning and blended learning is possible, summative tests will be administered in school. For learners who are on distance learning, summative tests may be administered when physical classes shall be allowed in their respective areas. For the alternative learning system, we have the overall goal of the Learning Continuity Plan for us is to sustain the gain of Duterte's administration in the delivery of quality and relevant second chance basic education program for out-of-school youth and adults, while ensuring the health and safety of both learners and teachers during the COVID-19 pandemic and in the transition of the new normal. For the curriculum, we focuses on the K-12 curriculum with the and made relevant to address cross-cutting and emerging issues. The learning goals or the outline in the individual learning agreement and the recognized prior learning of an alternative learning system student will determine the competencies in the ALS curriculum that will be given focus on the learning activities and the amount of time needed for coverage and mastery. Training programs that will be relevant as we move forward post-COVID, such as entrepreneurship in industry, digital citizenship, health promotion, agribusiness, no? Agribusiness that led to the environment will be made available. Establishing a committee acquisition and deployment of learning resources. Because of sources of learning materials and platforms are vastly diverse, a committee led by the curriculum and instruction strand with a representation from the OSEC, legal, administration, procurement, field operation, and finance strand shall be constituted to develop a transparent and responsive process for the development, evaluation, and selection, acquisition, and deployment of various learning resources and platform. Now, for the environment, we have the Brigada Escuela program in the Department of Education in our country. The annual activities of DepEd to prepare for the school opening will be reconfigured to fully assist the preparation of the stakeholder in the rollout of the BELCP. The 2020 Brigada Escuela activity will highlight partnership initiatives that complement the department efforts for ensuring quality education will continue. Despite the challenges in adapting to the new normal, aside from the usual activities conducted in the past Brigada Escuela, school health shall endeavor to conduct the following related initiatives. Number one is to coordinate with the local government units for other non-government organizations and volunteers to clean and disinfect school building, classroom, and other school facilities relating to the school environment. The Education Program Supervisor, ROSTO partnership focal person, and school heads shall engage partners in raising the availability of the following items school during the Brigada Escuela: thermal scanner, hand sanitizing equipment or materials such as rubbing alcohol, antibacterial or germicidal soap, cleaning tools, materials, or disinfectant that may use to disinfect the learning areas such as spray pump, disinfectant spray, or disinfecting bleach or foot bath. Appropriate mask, shield and gloves, multivitamins capsule, tablets or syrup for our DepEd personnel and school children. Printing of COVID-19 and health measure information materials, and printing materials and provision of supplies for remote learning of the learners, teachers, and parents. And number 3, the school head shall ensure the psychological first aid or other psychological intervention, together with debriefing, are conducted in partnership with stakeholders during the implementation of Brigada Escuela. 4, orientation activities with teachers, partners, PTA, and learners BELCP shall focus on the implementation of DepEd's multiple learning delivery modalities. Encourage parents through the Parent-Teachers Association toward possible collaboration with the school that can support the delivery of learning while adapting to the new normal. 2, engage parents in the promotion of the new school system. The new role, increased involvement of the parents in the learning of their children are essential in augmenting available resources and technology in the community. Engage partners in the promotion and provision of learning delivery options such as local radio, TV station, and other available media, which can help in distance or blended learning and can be a form of partnership initiative to deliver the curriculum. The school head may identify resources necessary for a high-tech, low-tech, or no-tech aid for learning to engage the partners. And 5, implementation of gulayan sa tahanan or planting of vegetable and urban gardening at home as part of the Brigada Escuela and the school family community partnership to promote sustainable food supply at homes. Number 6, update their school and emergency and contingency plan and communicate to all stakeholders how they can support school to ensure resiliency. This is relation to school safety and preparedness as provided for under DepEd Memorandum Number 32, Series 2020. 7, engage partners extensively and substantially in Brigada Escuela and Adapt School program to promote quality and compete for support for the new normal in school, especially in the delivery of 8, collaborate with various stakeholders to guarantee the proper implementation of the learning continuity plan. And 9, strengthen the Brigada reading in the learning continuity plan and enrich partnership appreciation in connection with the issues with the environment or the school environment. Now, despite the current situation, the Brigada Escuela program of the Department of Education continue to serve as one of the departments to ensure that under the new normal, our school, our school environment, our learners, our administrator, our teachers and non-teaching personnel, and our parents are ready for the school year. Now we are in this together and we will get this together. A good evening once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Angelica, for your wonderful presentation on the rethinking. Really, we have to think our education policies after this corona situation. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, if you have any participants, if you have any queries to Dr. Angelica, they directly ask to her. Yes. If you have any queries, please. Dr. Angelica, hello.
Yes,
Please,
sir.
on your video, please.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm fine. We have a lot of work to do
Yes.
because the opening of classes will be on August 24. There's a lot of things to finish, especially the self-learning modules for the learners.
So already we got the recognition from your presentation. Participants are saying that what is there? You have a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much for that. So, thank you. So I would like to know something that in case of after this corona, you know that there are several academic institutions have still a lockdown situation, and we actually don't know when it will reopen. But this situation, this timing of academic curriculum or academic calendar, what are the new education policies you have think to incorporate? Have you think your government, because you are also in the part of government of education Philippines. So, is there any policy has changed regarding education curriculum, particularly for environmental science and all?
For as of today, we don't have. I don't have any policy in terms of environment, but I will be searching for the policy, and then I will I will contact you with regards to that because we are very busy in terms of the self-learning modules that we are going to use in this coming school year. But I will attend to that to your question after this.
Okay. And one more point is that in case of academic system, there are several periods which we have already completely uh, wipe out. We have to wipe out because this corona, because the students will not be able to go in their college. Even college students cannot be able to go do their regular classes. In case of online education system, suppose if we go for the particularly for the online education system in future also in thinking. So what do you suggest? What should be the points should be incorporated into the curriculum as that student can because online education I am talking the online education as the green education. So would you really prefer this green education for environmental case of environmental science also?
Actually, we are doing some self-learning modules and some videos in terms of the issues on with regards to environmental. We are including that in our learning competencies, especially in the learning areas of social studies, PBL, science. That's all.
Okay.
I can't hear much of you.
So thank you, ma'am, for joining with us. And if any participants, till now I am asking to the participants if they have any queries, they may directly ask to Angelica ma'am. So Kamana Gunaratna ma'am, thank you ma'am for joining with us from Sri Lanka. She is
Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you, sir. God bless you all and keep safe.
Yeah, no, I would like to thank you, Kamana Gunaratna ma'am. She is joined from Sri Lanka, and she is also the professor in the Open University of Sri Lanka. Thank you, ma'am, for joining with us.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so today's session, we have to stop this today's session because already the lecture is over. And tomorrow, I would like to request all the participants, please join tomorrow with the same ID and password and the link of our Zoom. But please join before 3 p.m. because our resource persons have also joined with us. And you may also visit those who have joined in the later stage. So they can easily visit our Maharshi News channel, the YouTube channel of Sayad. You may directly find it, Maharshi News Sayad. You may find it, and you can directly get all the information regarding the previous lectures, even the today's lecture also. So with that, thankful for joining with us. And tomorrow we have another two resource persons from Sri Lanka, and Dr. Gunaratna ma'am, and another persons from Kenya. So hopefully we will enjoy. You will also enjoy today's lecture, and tomorrow please join within time. So with this, thank you.
Thank you,
We'll
sir.
see you tomorrow. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.